wants to make this world a better place. That's why he is creating educational options for the youth to train our future leaders in facing the challenges up ahead. So Henry, welcome to the show called Self-Made. Listening to your story, speaking at the Tech Summit, we were so inspired. But before we ask about business, can you share with us your childhood story?
So my father's French and my mom's from the Philippines. They met in Manila. So we grew up in a mix of countries. Lived in France, Switzerland, the UK, Hong Kong.
So what you consider yourself? What nationality?
We feel very French and very Filipino. So every year we'd spend some time in both France and the Philippines, even if we weren't living in either. And so we're very close to our families here and in France. And I consider Manila to be one of my homes.
So which country you really spend the longest time in your life?
The UK. So I lived in London on and off for about, I think, 10 years or 12 years. I went to high school there twice, and then I did my undergrad there as well. And then my postgrad I did in the US.
Why you did your postgrad in the US, like at Harvard?
I was very interested in doing an MBA, and the program at Harvard was very interesting, and so I decided to apply there. And I thought it would be a good way to discover America.
Being, I could say, well-off kid, because your parents has a good job. What do you really want to be when you were a kid? Do you want to be like them, or were you happy already, or you really have that drive to be successful?
The main thing about my childhood was probably that living between Europe and the Philippines, we would see every year the differences in opportunities. And so actually what drives us the most, I would say, or at least what drove me the most growing up, was how can you create a society in the Philippines that has as many opportunities as what I saw growing up in Europe?
Did you see that right away when you were a kid, or?
Yes, it's hard to miss. Also, my family is very socially conscious, and so a lot of, or put it this way, they do a lot of social work, whether it's fighting corruption or doing rural healthcare or working in education, etc., etc. And so growing up, I'd hear all these stories. I would see it. I mean, it's very hard to live in the Philippines and not see the poverty, the lack of opportunities.
So how you become a young leader?
I'm not sure I'm a leader.
We could say you are.
If you feel strongly about a cause, then you have a choice to get involved or not to get involved. I don't think you're a better person for getting involved fully, but I saw a problem and I wanted to help fix it, and that's what I'm doing in a small way.
So what are the struggles that you can see that's missing in the Philippines?
So I think a lot of it is information asymmetry. It was the thing that shocked me the most when I was speaking to students, because even kids here who go to private high schools, whose parents went to college, they have a comfortable life, even they don't really know what their choices are. Even they are not sure what to study, what school to go to, how do I compare school A and school B? Can I really get that kind of job if I graduate? What is that kind of job? How much do I get paid? Are the people hiring in that field? And so just fixing that information asymmetry, you're already empowering people with choice. Choice and information actually already goes a very long way.
That's the reason why you started the business of education?
Yes, exactly. So, the first thing we're solving is information asymmetry for students and their parents.
So what is the deeper meaning of education to you by starting that business?
So for me, education is a stepping stone to having a fulfilling career, having employment. But I don't see education as the end all. Just having a diploma is not the final step. It's a piece of paper that's going to help you a lot, but that should never be the only end goal.
So what kind of lesson that you can really share to all the schools to really impact the children to have that kind of mindset to be successful?
So the first one is that the education you provide as a school should be about giving skills to the students to make them ready for the real world. Whether it's technical skills, like knowing how to do accounting or engineering or architecture, and then soft skills, communication, teamwork, being reliable, etc., etc. And you need a combination of, hard skills and soft skills to be able to be employable in the real world. And so I think I would love for schools to not just see themselves as educators, but as guardians of the students' future, of not just helping them until they get the diploma, but getting them ready for what happens after the diploma.
So basically, who is the best teacher for the students?
It's the one that engages in critical thinking. And I think that's something that often lacks in the education system here. Learning by rote was always fairly pointless and is now even more so. Because you're just asking people to learn information that they can have on a computer or in a book. What's really difficult is critical thinking.
Yes.
You know, how do I react in this situation? I have options A, B, C. How do I pick? How do I compare them? And that's what I think the best teacher does. They force students to think, not just to absorb knowledge.
So what is the best lesson that you really learn in your life that you can share?
Don't give up. Nothing great worth having comes easy.
And also, you know, the teenagers right now, the way they think, the way they act, totally different also. But what do you think that they should do, that they should follow in order to be successful someday?
Well, I think just being self-aware about what your goals are goes a long way. That's a lot of the work we do with Education is we don't just tell people like, okay, here's a website, go find a school. We actually ask them, what do you want to be? And so it's having that conversation with yourself, with your parents, with your peers, with your teachers, of asking yourself, what do I want? Are you motivated by money? Do you want power? Do you just want to work as few hours as possible? Do you want to have social impact? And you have to ask yourself those questions very honestly. And once you've asked yourself those questions, then you can start charting your path. But if you don't have that self-awareness, it'll be very difficult for you to feel fulfilled or to even go in the right direction.
How about working with your parents? How you connect with them also? Because sometimes that's also a big gap between children
and their parents.
And the parents.
Yes.
So how can you put that together?
Always take into account some of the consideration of your parents, of your teachers. They often have your best interest at heart, so it will never hurt to listen to their advice. Doesn't mean you have to follow it all the time.
Oh, wonderful. So are you happy where you are now?
I am. It has its ups and downs. It's not the easiest work to do, but whenever we have success stories of students, we know that we're getting there. We're on the right path. It's gonna take time.
So what's next to Henry?
What's next? Trying to sign up as many students in schools as possible for the next few months. So if you know students or schools, send them my way.
Well, we're looking forward to see more about Education. And thank you very much,
Thank
Henry.
you so much.
Every success has its struggles. Every dream has its trials and tests. Listen to their stories, because if they did it, you can also be called self-made.